Thank you very much, Trouble. We are Medi and Vedi joining you guys on the final day of the regular season here in Spring. We do have a short delay before we get on into the game, just so that everyone is aware. We will likely waffle for a few minutes.
I'm afraid so.
We could pancake as well. Eggs Benedict is on the menu.
Maybe some French toast, perhaps. You'll have to wait and see. But yes, there is a slight delay on stage, so you're going to be looking at our pretty faces for a little while. But we are getting ready for Heretics versus GIANTX.
I've actually been told we can say what the delay was. So
Very well, let us share the news.
The order queue. Members of Team Heretics arrived approximately 60 minutes late to the studio today, resulting in a delay to studio operations that additionally impacted their opponents. League officials have penalized Team Heretics with one missed ban. This ban will be the last ban within the second ban phase. Teams are still preparing for the game ahead, and we'll get into picks and bans obviously as soon as they're ready. I was actually scrolling on Instagram earlier, and I don't know if you saw, Vedi, what Jankos posted. You didn't?
I did not.
Well, I think we're going to bring it up here.
45 minutes before LEC stuck in traffic. Hopefully they can find another jungler for today. We play at 5 p.m. and it's 6:40. And they're, so photo evidence.
Is that 3 kilometers away or 30? I think that was 13 kilometers away.
That's 13 kilometers.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for the memes,
you're traveling on average at 0 kilometers per hour. That's a long time to get to
infinite time, you might say.
Yeah.
So there are different types of infinity. There are bigger infinities.
Why would you go here first? There's so many other things that we can talk about.
5 minutes.
Yes, I too have seen both the Instagram reel, the TikTok, and the YouTube video that all talk about the hotel with an infinite number of rooms and the infinite number of buses with an infinite number of passengers. I've seen it.
Oh, I just studied it in university.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. The pre-recorded draft has been completed, by the way, so we will be doing picks and bans now, and then we'll spend the time that we have to delay before we get into the game to talk about the picks and bans.
So they don't want us to talk about Infinity. That's funny.
Yeah, understandable. So we're going to have the picks and bans, then we'll have a delay after picks and bans. But let's get those picks and bans up as soon as possible. So they give us something to talk about. Important stakes for this game, obviously, are GIANTX. If they win, they are locked into our playoffs. 4 wins seems to be the cutoff for a guaranteed playoff spot. If GIANTX...
it is.
It is. Yeah, okay, sure. Betty, I didn't do all of the maths beforehand, okay? I was busy contemplating infinity.
All right, true, fair enough.
Yes, if GIANTX do lose and Heretics win, GIANTX can still go through without tiebreakers if BDS win in Game 5, but obviously that eventuality is a full 4 hours away or so. So Heretics on the blue side have got rid of Ashe, Kalista, and they Rumble. GIANTX have removed Orianna, Neeko, and Taliyah.
Now you have to imagine that Varus becomes the insta-lock here for GIANTX. Patrik's most played, obviously still a very strong champion on the current patch. The question is, what do they want to pair alongside it? Are they interested in something flexible like the Rell, which we've seen so many times before, being moved in both jungle and support? Or perhaps they want to lock in a powerful mid laner. We look at all of these 3 mids taken away by GIANTX, trying to pinch the pool of Zwyroo. I wonder, Orianna, Neeko, and Taliyah, those are the champions that Zwyroo has played. Perhaps their game plan here is actually just pick the Karma and deny him any of his champions, force him onto something that he hasn't played on stage just yet.
I mean, it's very possible from GIANTX. They are looking at that Rell first pick. The Varus was the other one you mentioned. Wouldn't be surprised by that at all. As you say, Patrik's most played. There it is, locked in. So where do Heretics go? Do they try and get the Karma for themselves? They need an AD carry, otherwise they'll get into the second ban phase.
Maybe they just respond with a Zeri. We look at Flakked most played. Varus and Zeri sit at the top. Smolder is open. The question is, do they value it? Into the Varus.
I do not value Smolder at all.
I know that.
I would sell him for pennies.
I will say, there's been an interesting debate recently, which is irrelevant right now because it's not been locked in, but pros seem to be valuing the Smolder less and less the more they play with and against it, as the Zeri is locked in for Flakked. The question is, will they lock in their mid laner now? Do they want to grab themselves the Karma against Zwyroo? Only 4 champions played so far this split. Neeko, Orianna, Karma, and Taliyah. With 3 of those banned away, perhaps he wants to lock a mid laner in now.
I mean, if you have something like the Annie, you have such good pick potential. Annie alongside Vi, CC set up for days, good burst damage in the early game as well. We talk a lot about the mid-jungle 2v2. I like Heretics' side of it right now, especially if GIANTX do go for that Karma, because Rell Karma just doesn't have that much damage comparatively.
Blind Annie, I think, is always a bit dangerous, though, just because I think that traditionally it's used as a counter pick into Ahri. Really good at shutting down that high mobility. Naturally, she does have a huge amount of burst. Great setup for junglers as well, just because her Flash Tibbers is such a fast initiation tool. But in laning phase, her wave clear isn't the strongest until you've got more points in your W. So when playing into a Karma, which is exactly what Jankos is going to run, sometimes you lose a lot of control over that mid wave. And shielding, really good at mitigating the burst, assuming you can react to it in time.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. We expect to see Jackies getting the push in the mid game. How GIANTX utilize that, though, is the big question. Often we see them pathing down towards the bottom side. They will get rid of the Gragas as their first ban. Remember, Heretics have lost one of these two bans. It will be the second one because of their delays in Berlin traffic. Then we'll see what their first ban is. Still haven't seen top laners or likely supports locked in. Obviously, that Rell can be flexed down towards the bottom lane, but I wonder if we'll see something else there for GIANTX.
I'm wondering what they choose to ban away. Do you just target Odoamne's top pool? It looks like that they're interested in removing that Twisted Fate.
I mean, the Karma can always flex support as well. We don't see it as much. Can flex top.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of flexibility on GIANTX's composition right now. I am just making assumptions that this Karma is mid just because of where we've seen it so often. The Rell jungle, though, I mean, Varus, Rell bot we've seen, Varus, Rell, well, jungle Rell is something is what I meant, is we've seen a lot. Rell, Karma as a mid-jungle duo, not the strongest.
Yeah.
Typically,
especially into Annie Vi.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more farm-oriented, but it looks like GIANTX are focused on that top side of the map. They want to try and pinch Wunder's pool a little bit. The question is, what direction is he going to go for? We look at his pool so far, but he's had a pretty big...
Diverse.
That's the word. Diverse champion pool so far in Spring. A lot of Aatrox, but Wukong, K'Sante, Gragas, TF, the Gnar. I think he's a little cautious about blind picking Gnar because he knows that there are some powerful picks that can cause some problems. You've always got to remember the potential, well, I was going to say of the Rumble, but of course that's already banned away from the side of Heretics. So what do they want to blind pick? And as a reminder, this ban has been lost by Heretics due to them arriving late at the studio today.
They could have put one of those NFC tags on it so they, you know, the find your phone ones. They could find it as they were searching around. No, but yeah, they arrived late, so they weren't able to get that ban off. GIANTX might show their hand here. Obviously, you want that last pick either counter for mid or top. You already know the Annie's going mid, so I think we can assume the Karma's mid. Leave R5 for a top lane counter, show either a jungler or a support here. And it looks like IgNar back on the Rakan, has played it twice so far this split. Very strong on it, was always very good at engaged champions, but does lose you a little bit of lane pressure. The Rakan and Varus kind of have to wait for a bit to have that full burst.
What do you
combo.
hate more as a Rakan enthusiast yourself, Nautilus or Renata playing into that matchup?
I hate Renata. I despise Renata. I think Nautilus, the thing with Nautilus is he's so good at so many things.
It's true.
He has great point-and-click engage late game. You have good engage in the early game, but you also have great peel, because if people ever get on top of you, you just auto-attack them and they're stuck still.
I just like the follow-up that he has with Vi, right? You have a lot of dive on the side of Heretics. Annie ideally wants to flash, ult in. The Vi wants to ult in. Nautilus CC can either set up that target for his team, or it can just be great follow-up once that initial CC has been landed.
And Renata doesn't work well unless the enemy team's really engaging into you, right?
That's
and there's
true.
Not that much engaged. You have the Rell and the Rakan, and they can flank, right? So it's a lot easier for GIANTX to navigate it. Wunder, following in BB's footsteps, going to bring out the Rek'Sai top here. We are seeing a lot of this. Grasp of the Undying into tank Rek'Sai. Does a lot of work and is very safe when we expect GIANTX to focus down towards the bottom side. It makes sense.
I wasn't expecting Rek'Sai to just be so blind pickable, but with the sheer amount of sustain that the champion gets, the fact that it is just such an effective front line, and them reintroducing that multi-man knockup, I think has just reinvigorated the strength of this champion. The response from Odo is going to be his Jayce. He's a player that has a very long history behind him, alongside Wunder, of course, and Jayce used to be one of his go-to top lane champions. I remember back to 2016 Worlds when H2K did make that impressive run all the way to the semifinals. It was Odoamne's Jayce that was so terrifying to play against up towards the top side of the map. So excited to see him back on the champion. A lot of poke on the side of GIANTX. Patient play is going to be required from them. They're going to leverage the fact that Lethality Varus, the Jayce EQ combo is going to be doing a lot of damage from range. And we kind of look at Heretics' composition. They do have good engage, but Annie, not the longest of range. Zeri, of course, does have decent range, but Heretics very reliant on closing that gap against GIANTX. So a lot of these fights are going to come down to, can Heretics find that engage, or will GIANTX be able to successfully set up that poke in advance to be able to chip down the members of Heretics before the fight starts?
And can they disengage if the engage does come out from Heretics, right? Can they use the Karma and the Rell to just distract Heretics for long enough to step back, use that chain of corruption and make sure you are a little bit safer just to get that poke in? Odoamne's last win on Jayce in the LEC was in Spring Playoffs 2022, Vedius, so a full 2 years ago. He did only play it twice since then, once against G2 on Rogue and once on XL against G2 as well. So he doesn't win against G2, but he did win against Fnatic the last time that he...
But was Wunder on that G2 roster?
The 2022 Spring, I want to say yes. It was BB. BB was already in 2022.
Yeah.
Well, we should listen to you, Vedi. We are into the game. Thankfully able to navigate through some of the delays that happened with Heretics arriving late. Obviously out of their control.
To our production team and everyone working today. I was expecting a few more delays, but we're able to jump straight into game after the draft. So, you're looking at the runes and masteries on your screens right now. Nothing too surprising. There's that grasp Rek'Sai that you were talking about, the tank Rek'Sai. It's crazy to me that the way I learnt about this was someone just linked me a YouTube video.
Was it Lol Dobby? It was Lol Dobby. Yeah. That's how everyone learns about everything. It's how like BB learns about it. It's how every European and American player learns what they should be one-tricking. Because all he does is he takes the best LCK Korean challenger accounts that are playing random stuff and puts out a YouTube video about it. And everyone's like, oh my god, but Rek'Sai top with grasp, we can do this.
The funniest thing about it was the video starts with, this was a Diamond 4 top lane main that went to Masters 400 LP in like a week. And it's not even like there's like, this is Keen on his Smurf account. You know, this is just some guy
who's just winning a lot of games.
And apparently this champion has a really good win rate. And this is what he does. And all the pros are like, I will give that a go. Yes. And here we are. So good job, random person who found this interesting build. You may have made other top laners' lives miserable, because I've heard there's people calling this is like Cassante when he was broken.
It's just the healing and the safety, right? You put a couple of tunnels back.
It is that healing that I think that makes the champion so strong. When you see it in the fights, it's crazy. And we had Dagda talking about it the first day it arrived, but if you are new to the champion, basically what happens is you walk up, you unburrow, you hit them once or twice, you see that little meter that's building up underneath the bar, and then you go underground, and look, how much health did he get back there? I need to have a closer look at that, but like, it's just so much passive sustain. Look, 28, 36, it's just 50 HP back. Yeah. And so when you combine that with grasp, and you have the Doran shield as well, it just gives you so much sustain in the lane that even in range matchups where you typically expect you'd be having a rough time, you can just you can tank and survive a lot. I imagine it's going to get nerfed at some point.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't looked at 14.6 patch notes completely, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Rek'Sai love taps in there at least. Odoamne, though, is out to a slight CS lead. The wave building up towards Wunder, though, means that he should be able to catch it back, and we see Odo using that range advantage to be able to chip away at Rek'Sai's health.
Now, we didn't talk about jungle paths, but obviously very important. Both doing a full clear from top side towards bot. You'll notice that Jankos now making his way onto the red, as Peach doing the exact same thing on his blue. Both clear speeds very similar, but we look at the bot lane. Flakked and Trymbi already have the push. Looking to go for a bit of a cheater recall here, but expecting that they wouldn't be able to contest this 2 versus 2. IgNar and Patrik dropped these early wards down to see if there was any contest for the enemy jungle, and it looks like for the time being that there will not be. So a very passive start to the game, both sides just prioritizing farming, scaling up, and not looking for any early action. I mean, Jankos already going for a quick base. He realizes that Peach is on the bot side of the map. He knows that his bot lane has also gone back, so he says, you know what, I can't contest this bot crab, so I'm going to reset and actually go for the top crab, which works out for me because that's where my top camps are respawning anyway.
Interesting little bit of tech there from IgNar on the Rakan. Walks and catches the minions aggro, then paths down into the bush, meaning that the blue minions will actually focus target often one of the red minions. That meant Flakked loses 1 CS. And it doesn't seem like a huge amount, but if you can deny 1 CS from the enemy, that's 20 gold that you're denying from the enemy, and can help you out sometimes in lanes like this.
Man.
It's min-maxing. Just makes it a little bit easier. You can also do it if you're first in lane at the level 1. Just deny them a CS if your enemy laners are going to leash. Helps you out just a little bit. Wunder going in with the Furious Bite, doing a bit of damage to Odoamne, who kind of needs some cover from his jungler here to step up. He does have that ward in the pixel bush,
the
but
wave should be pushing towards him though, so he can play a little defensively. The thing he has to be cautious of is the dive, because this wave is definitely going to be stacking. Wunder's likely to have a level advantage. And you look at the amount of mana that Odoamne has right now, it's not in the best of spots. So we'll keep track of Jankos doing his wolves.
Odo does have double biscuits though, so can regenerate some of that.
That's the level 5 as well, which is crucial. I think he has to be cautious right now of that dive. Yeah, so the ward is going to go over the wall because he is a little bit worried about it. Peach did, of course, just go back to base. But he's going to catch the wave just before it hits the tower as well, so in a pretty comfortable spot for the time being.
Oh, nice knockup from Wunder as Odo tried to bring the hammer down and take out those minions. Still manages to get most of them as they do crash into his tower. Jankos going for an early grub, where Peach went for the reset. So Jankos a little bit behind in terms of gold spent, but is going to be able to get these grubs early on.
I mean, so far, a very restrained and passive back and forth early game. Nothing too crazy to write home about. Peach level 4, going to be able to steal the Raptors here, knowing that he does have Prio in the mid lane. Jackie's into this Annie. We did talk about it. There's a bit of a range difference in the mid matchup, and Annie doesn't have the greatest wave clear, so she kind of gets bullied by Karma in the laning phase. And unless the Karma oversteps, there's not really much you can do about it. But at the cost of his Raptors, he will be able to secure those early grubs. Does potentially unlock the Dragon. You've got to be a little bit cautious about trying to force that, because while Jankos has only just cleared them, you know that this bot side is resetting and making their way back out onto the map.
There is a possibility of a contest from Heretics, but as you say, with Jackie's always being able to gain mid-prior whenever he wants it, the tippers can be used to try and negate that. Jackie's goes back in, focus resolve with the mantra applied. Will heal him up a little bit as Trymbi misses the flash Q. No flash burnt from Jackie's. IgNar's going to keep Trymbi away from the river as Peach crashes down onto the dragon. And this should be Drake secured, although Jankos is in the vicinity. They have a ward on it as well. Don't really want to try and smite fight a Rell. He goes in. Peach doesn't get it, but IgNar does somehow. Jankos burnt his smite. Peach did not. IgNar took the Drake. And in the end, Giants get what they wanted out of it, but it was very close for them.
I mean, Patrik realized that he had to catch this wave, so he moves back towards the lane, which means that the damage being thrown onto the dragon is relatively low. This provides enough time for Jankos to be able to respond, and his smite was just a little too early. Miscalculated the damage.
I think it's also one of those, you're expecting Peach to smite,
correct,
so you smite at like 800, right?
I mean, I've heard the combo is you just do Q smite on the Rell, and it's actually pretty effective at securing those objectives, so you're definitely right. He expected Peach to go for this burst, and I don't know if Peach saw him and then held, or
if he just didn't have the Shadowing Strike because he'd used it already, clearing it out. We didn't see...
Or he got lucky. Sometimes that happens too.
It does, and for GIANTX, they'll be happy that they got lucky. Remember, if they win this, they are locked into our top 8, into our playoffs. Hook's going to land from Trymbi, puts the Ignite down on Patrik. Lightning crash as well from Flakked. IgNar flashes, battle dances away. Level 6 for Flakked, though, means that he's very willing to flash forward further as Patrik falls low. IgNar can block these, but he decides against it. And now IgNar's hooked under the tower. There's 2 for Flakked. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Wunder was looking for the dive with Jankos. There's the Shadowing Strike, and Wunder will fall. Odo takes the kill.
Okay, so a lot of action happening across the map. A straight-up 2v2 kill for Flakked and Trymbi in the bot lane. I mean, that just goes to show the strength of Nautilus as a champion, right? Just does so much in the early laning phase. Jankos, you need to calm down, sir.
Jankos doesn't have flash here. A couple of autos will be enough as Peach takes it. Okay, so...
questionable play.
Yeah, that was poor.
I mean, hopefully we get a replay so I can understand the decision behind that, because Jankos, I don't think he needed to make that. Maybe he was trying to hold the wave to give time for Wunder to come back, but we'll look back at the play in a second. This is the top lane play that just happened. Wunder goes in with the burrow. Flash knockup, easy setup. Nice flash from Odoamne to avoid. They don't quite have the damage. Odoamne knocks Wunder back underneath the tower. I mean, Odoamne plays that about as well as he can. Sets up for Peach to arrive, flash stun. And then we double speed here. Yeah, I think he really is just trying to hold the wave. He sees that the Q is used by Peach. No, that was... I guess he thinks that Odo doesn't have the mana.
But you just transform an auto attack, right?
But yeah, maybe he believes the TP is coming in a bit quicker. Maybe he thinks Wunder's going to arrive there. Inherently, that was a mistake from Jankos. Cost him his life. Ends up being 2 for 2 in kills. While Heretics bot side gain an advantage, the top side goes favorably for GIANTX.
And the problem for the GIANTX bot side was they weren't level 6. Flakked had hit 6, probably off Trymbi roaming around, so Flakked had been able to get a little bit more solo XP. And he could just chase them down with a lightning crash as soon as they start dancing away. It becomes very easy for a Zeri in that situation to chase you down. It's why it's so imperative for GIANTX to land poke before they look for fights as this game goes on, because if Zeri is healthy and the engage lands, she's just going to dance her way all the way through you. With the cleanse as well to get rid of some of that initial CC.
Uh-oh, Jankos lacks crucial information here. He's skeptical. He believes that Peach is in his jungle, and here he's spotted.
Flakked dances the wall. Magma Storm. Yeah, that was...
I mean, I love the idea there from Peach, because the goal is he uses his ultimate to intercept Flakked's first part of the wall jump, and then he can drag him back over before he can get over. I think he was just a little too late, or perhaps Rell's just too slow to actually catch the Zeri off guard. But I've definitely seen it before with like Canes when you try to go through a wall, and if you just hit them early enough, it'll just interrupt and they'll just immediately come back.
Same with Smolder if he's trying to fly through a wall or something. So it's a bit of an interesting interaction afterwards with the Dredge line hooking onto Peach, but he was able to get himself out. Jankos up on the top side of the map now. Remember, they took 3 grubs earlier. The exchange for GIANTX was they were able to take the Drake. That's up in a minute. I wonder if GIANTX will want to contest any of these grubs, because 6 is very strong, especially if you start to have pressure in side lanes.
Sorry, you said cuz 6 is very strong, and in my head I said Kha'Zix is very strong, and I'm like, not sure why he's relevant in this game, Medic.
Very good solo queue jungler right now. But yeah, it looks like it is going to be 6 grubs over to Heretics and to Jankos. The reset from the GIANTX bot lane with IgNar now opening through mid. He'll path down towards the bottom side to get some vision around this dragon, most likely.
Now, the good news for Heretics is that they should still be able to contest this dragon spawning in about 20 seconds. Wunder going to secure himself his second plate of the game. He doesn't have TP, Odoamne will. So I believe that Odoamne deliberately held onto his TP to be available for this dragon fight. And what he can do is he can create a nice situation where he can just keep the pressure going in top lane. Wunder might be forced back here so that he can actually move down to contest this next objective, whereas Odo can create this dual point of pressure where if Wunder doesn't respond, oh, Patrik.
Patrik puts the chain of corruption, there's the cleanse away, and Patrik has to use the heal to escape. Almost doomed there as Trymbi and Flakked did close in. The depth charge still available for Trymbi as well. Patrik splash up in about 10 seconds time. Problem for GIANTX was as they came back out towards this dragon, their reset time was a little bit mismatched. IgNar came out first, then Peach reset. So even though IgNar was in position to get vision deeper into the Heretics jungle, he didn't have the backup to do so. He could be warded off by just Trymbi. Now with IgNar and Peach together, they have a little bit more security if they want to step into the jungle. Trymbi coming across. No lightning crash on Flakked, no flash on him either. The Dredge line Riptide combination. There's the quickness though, as Trymbi is locked up. Does still have the flash. Depth charge on the back line as Jackie's gets knocked up, but Trymbi falls first. Flakked dances away across the wall. The chase comes in from Odoamne as he TP in behind. And there goes the kill. Jackie's taking out Flakked. And GIANTX proactive in calling for that TP.
Great utilization of the TP advantage that Odo has in that top lane. There was little that this bot lane from Heretics could do. Trymbi trying to get vision control of the river. I think without his team, leaves him open for being caught out of position. And then Flakked just was not expecting this flank to come through. Wunder being given an opportunity to push in top lane, but look at the lane assignments here from GIANTX. They've had Jackie's reset earlier to TP to top to catch that wave. Wunder now gets to go bot, secure himself a plate or two. And now all of a sudden, GIANTX find themselves with a gold lead.
Jackie is likely just to push out this wave and then let Odoamne go up back towards the top side. We'll see Trymbi getting caught out here again. And after Trymbi uses the Dredge line, like, you can burn flash in this situation, but you're pretty much dead anyway.
And look at that TP. It feels like that out of nowhere, because you look on the replay and it comes in so quickly that Flakked is focused on trying to help his support out, looking for a potential fight, that he doesn't see Odoamne coming in from the flank. Very well played by him. And overall by GIANTX, nice play, secures them the second dragon. Coaching staff naturally should be very happy about that. And then crucially, the response afterwards. The lane assignments following was very, very good. Overall, great stuff. But Heretics, just like that, have closed the gold gap. They've secured a bunch of plates on the map. Flakked, with his reset, moved into bot immediately.
6 grubs helps you get all of these plates as well.
And it does.
10 seconds before those plates fall off. Flakked with a 1.6k gold lead. Remember, he did get that double kill in the 2v2. Now he backs off. Patrik able to hold mid lane by himself. It's power of the lethality Varus. Very easy for you to clear out a wave with the piercing arrow and the hail of arrows afterwards.
I will say, just GIANTX have a lot of wave clear with their comp. And I think one of the big things about that bot river fight as well was Jackie's constantly has mid push. You can see that he's about a 1k gold up over Zwyroo. Part of that is thanks to the kill and assist that he's been able to find so far in this game, but also just the sheer amount of wave clear that this Karma does have. Now we approach the Herald. Jankos has gotten it pretty low, but GIANTX is here to contest.
Analyst just said they didn't like the fact that GIANTX were just being cameramen. Well, here the cameramen want a piece of the action. It's like The Office all over again as the hook does go down onto Peach. There's a chain of corruption as well. Peach stunned up. Ferromancy tries to dash away. Chased down by Wunder. There's a CC from IgNar, but Peach will be forfeit. They steal away the Rift Herald, but they do lose their jungler for it.
The extended fight, Heretics is always going to have that advantage. Odoamne wasn't quite there yet, but we've talked so much about the poke that GIANTX's comp has. The second Heretics find that engage is when Heretics is at their scariest with this composition. This area is not going to stop hitting you in the fight, and Varus just doesn't quite have the tools when you're going for lethality to be able to match that. So Heretics find themselves a kill. They do lose the Herald. GIANTX likely to use this to unlock that mid lane tower, and we know how valuable that can be in terms of getting control of the enemy jungle, and then also translating that pressure into these side lane out of towers.
Have another look at it. You talked about the Q-Smite combination from Peach. Hits the eye, Q-Smite. There was a tiny window where Jankos could have got that, but then the chase comes in from Heretics.
Nice hook connects from Trymbi. The knock-up as well. You'll see the quickness tries to go onto Wunder, throws the ultimate out to be able to dodge away from that one. Good knock-up from IgNar, but GIANTX is just forced to retreat. You look at the mini-map, you can see that Odoamne is nowhere near. And overall, a pretty even trade kill for Herald. I think the GIANTX is still fine with that. The gold largely remains even. And again, ultimately, I think that Heretics, if they can find the fight, I do favor their comp, just because they do have so much more sustained damage. It's easier for them to play out these 5v5s. But if they can't close that gap and GIANTX can leverage their range, then I think that there's a very real way for them to be able to win out on these team fights. They have so much poke that's very difficult and oppressive to deal with. And as long as it's not going onto the Rek'Sai, that poke should stick.
First tower of the game going over to GIANTX. We have about 1,000 gold lead right now. The advantage mostly in the mid lane and a bit in the jungle as well, but Peach building tank. He didn't go Knight's Vow Rush, went Lock It instead, which I do actually quite like into an Annie Zeri because it just gives your whole team that shielding, and Annie obviously coming in with the Tibbers can do quite a bit of burst damage, but Flakked at 2 items in that bot lane, whereas Patrik's only sitting on the Yumu's Ghostblade right now. He is very deep in the hole, and if Flakked is left untouched in a fight, it'll be very hard for GIANTX to actually win out that battle. And what an important battle is to win for them, Vedi. They win this game, they are into our playoffs. They lose this game, they are reliant on other teams winning. Specifically, if Vedius win their last game, GIANTX would automatically go to playoffs. I think GIANTX are guaranteed a tiebreaker no matter what, because they're at 3 wins and we have 2 teams at 2. So even if Carmine Core and Rogue win later in the day, they would be tied.
And Heretics are fighting for first, ultimately. There's a clump of teams sitting at the top of the table, Fnatic, Heretics, and G2. And the biggest advantage is that you get to be on the opposite side of the bracket to the other strong teams. Yeah. So if Heretics were to finish first and G2 second, they likely wouldn't meet until much later on in playoffs.
Imagine if Heretics finished first and G2 finished third.
Then
they wouldn't be as happy.
Well, no, because 2 and 3 would then both still be on the other side,
2 and 3,
right?
it's 1 and 4, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
So being first would be nice.
Yeah, being first would be very nice.
Because then, yeah, but ultimately a lot of that is still pending the results of the day. So before we get to that, let's look at this dragon fight. Jankos off on the flank has been spotted by that red ward. A lot of darkness though. GIANTX, this is where their poke is crucial. Wunder being the front line is important for Heretics because of the tankiness that he has. But Heretics have found a way in. They've actually started off the dragon themselves. Patrik gets the push in mid, and here we go.
Jankos trying to sneak his way all the way around here. Wunder will catch that mid wave, making sure that GIANTX don't get free priority. Jankos just waiting. GIANTX aware of it. Odoamne marking that flank. They really want more poke damage before they go for this. Look at Wunder as well. He's going to get a pincer movement here as Jankos and Wunder, like the claws of a crab, will begin to descend. Very powerful force. As Zwyroo now steps forward, Jankos gets onto the backline. There's the sun, there's the CC, and Jackie's is deleted. Magnustorm coming out as well as Jankos falls. But this is where Flakked can really open up. He's only got 300 health left though, as Odoamne snipes out Trymbi. IgNar, Patrik, and Odoamne now on the dragon with Peach. Wunder tries to do what he can. The Void Rush not enough to escape the clutches of Odo. And even though Heretics found a pretty good engage, GIANTX survived it.
I mean, what a great fight from GIANTX. They responded perfectly. It looked bad because Jackie's pretty much got eviscerated, but I think Jackie's got out everything that he needed to. And crucially, Flakked took a lot of damage on the backline. Nice interrupt there from Odoamne, but look, you see the Mantra Q on the backside. Zeri gets way too close. The Peach ultimate connects, the Swiftness connects, and then look at this damage from Patrik. Q hits onto both Trymbi and Flakked. He's left completely untouched on the backline. And so sure, you take out the Karma, but 2 damage threats are still alive. Odo and Patrik are still alive and well. And I think, honestly, that was just a bit of a misplay from Flakked. I think he overcommitted there. He wanted to make this big wombo combo happen. Dived in, gets the multi-man ultimate.
Just needed to wait. Just needed to wait for the re-engage from GIANTX and then pop the Lightning Crash, or even dance to the side and pop it, just getting it on a couple of people. Obviously, you want that big multi-man ultimate, but when you are the carry, when you are fed like that, trust Zwyroo, Jankos, and Wunder to kill the first person. and then you follow up afterwards after you have that initial opening frag. Peach here fighting Jankos away from the Scuttle Crab. Now the gold lead extends. It's 1.4, 1.5k for GIANTX. They get that third dragon of the game. It is a Chem Soul. I'm sure they would have been wanting something slightly more impactful, but still very powerful in these fights if they do go longer. Peach and IgNar trying to get away from this. Jankos unable to hit the Vault Breaker, and Odoamne is using this time to push in the bot lane and take GIANTX's second tower of the match.
GIANTX playing a patient game. This weekend has looked great for this team. I was going to comment coming into this this game, I should say. Heretics have the opportunity to get their first 3-0 weekend of the year. GIANTX, the same. I thought it was going to be way more likely for Heretics, but GIANTX have shown a lot of growth. They've got a solid draft. They have plenty of options, and right now they're just taking their time. They know. I mean, they know that as long as they play the patient game, that they have a very good chance of taking down Heretics, denying them those top spots, and locking themselves a spot in the top 8.
I very much agree. I just looking at it in terms of draft, and we talked about this a little bit, and they talked about it a bit on the analyst desk as well. GIANTX have fallen foul of trying too hard to make compositions that aren't simple in draft sometimes. A lot of weight on Patrik's shoulders here. The weight is spread a little bit more evenly. Odoamne getting ahead, Jackie's being in a good position means that Patrik isn't the sole damage source. But that comp is not that simple to play. Right? You're looking for this disengage from what is essentially a press R comp from Heretics. If I looked at it with nameplates off, I would very much prefer to be playing on Heretics' side of the Rift, but GIANTX showing up on the final day of the regular season.
What I will say is that when it comes to dive burst comps, they may seem simple, right? Because, Flash R, good.
Everyone presses R.
Yeah, but at the pro level, there's a certain element of how you execute the flank, right?
Sure.
And we saw in that last fight, Odoamne just sat there to watch Jankos, right? Yep. And he actually was the one that took that initial Q, and then even though the Vi still ulted onto Jackie's, it wasn't that bad, right? Yep. And that's just because there's a great level of awareness about, exactly what a dive comp wants to do. And so you can make it as hard as possible for them as they try and get closer and closer, and you chip away at them with your poke, and you kind of control the vision to make their approach harder. And ideally, GIANTX never actually want to start the dragon, because then it becomes easier, because there's this other thing hitting you, and you can sometimes funnel yourself into this awkward position. And so that's why GIANTX didn't actually want to start it. They just kind of sat in that fog of war, took their time, and they were very patient about it. And as long as they take their time, I think that it's not as easy as it looks. But if Heretics do find that right engage, then the comp will look very easy, right?
And I think I agree with you in terms of everything you just said. It was all correct. But usually, when a team that has a press R comp gets ahead in the game, it becomes very hard for the team with the good disengage to play against it. And GIANTX have averaged minus 1,852 gold at the 15-minute mark. So that was where my doubt came in.
That's fair, but this game they've done a good job.
Can you actually just check for me, Vedi? I know you have a spec open. Were they ahead at 15 minutes in this game?
Well, they were even, from what I recall.
Yeah, I just want to, because they have a 100% win rate when they were ahead at 15 minutes. So the game may have already been finished.
At 15, it was 100 gold difference.
Oh, okay, so they were 100 gold behind, though.
They were 100 gold behind.
Well, we can't use that stat. Betty. We don't have the Nostradamus of stats to prove to us that GIANTX will win, but with it 17 seconds on the Drake, they're now setting up around it. Peach trying to collapse in. Jankos going to catch him out for the moment, but Peach pretty tanky. Damage already onto Zwyroo, though, as Trymbi steps forward. There's the dredge line. Wunder going in with the bow. Flakked going in as well. IgNar dives onto the back line with the quickness, and GIANTX are just looking for the disengage, but look at the poke. Trymbi's already a 3rd HP. Flakked trying to do everything he can just to get those autos down, but Jackie's kills off Trymbi, and now Wunder is running for the hills. GIANTX continue to collapse. They got 1 kill. That's all they needed to secure themselves the soul. Will Jankos look for the steal, or will he accept that this dragon is gone?
Another demonstration of great patience and control from GIANTX. They played around their vision very well. They played more of a front-to-back style. Their tanks weathered the most of the engage that came out from Heretics. Jankos didn't even use his ultimate in that fight. And GIANTX just kept retreating. They kept having their opposition walk into them. They leveraged their poke, and they did a really good job. We look back at this. It's Peach that gets initiated on first. He's forced to disengage. IgNar now acts as the front line. Heretics see an opportunity as a hook connects onto Jackie's once again. He flashes away to safety, but now look at this backline. Very safe. They have all this space to work with. Wunder trying to find an engage, but it's onto Peach again. And all this poke keeps coming over from the other side of the wall. Now it's Zwyroo who's in danger.
Peach coming across the wall, so is IgNar. The chase continues. Zwyroo, no flash, burnt it in the previous engagement, and Zwyroo is down. Peach takes it. The Baron a possibility now for GIANTX. They've already played the soul.
Though. Even though the Annie is dead, starting this Baron is always a scary thing to do because we talked about it. These dive compositions, the ones that just want to force us engage, you starting a Baron is great for them. It just makes that initiation that much easier. So GIANTX controlling the vision for now, and they're going to start it as a two-man.
Not the quickest, it's Lethality Varus and a Rell.
But look at the positioning of IgNar. He's coming in from the flank, sitting in this fog of war. He will be spotted out there, but he's just created more darkness.
Yeah, but remember, he's spotted by Wunder as well with the tremor sense,
That's
right?
true.
So they always know where IgNar is until Wunder unburrows. They look for Odoamne first. Wunder comes out. Trymbi as well. The Void Rush in by Wunder, trying to get onto that backline, but IgNar still very, very safe. And now Peach tanks up Wunder for a while. Flakked trying to get away from this. IgNar dives in, and Flakked is buried in the dirt. Wunder follows him to an early grave. A quick shower for them as they head down the tunnel. GIANTX, though, perfection in these team fights.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they are playing these very, very well. It's so easy to get caught into the chaos of these fights, get drawn into going into a brawl, but you can see the community. Oh, Zwyroo's going to get caught again.
Has no flash, has the Tibbers. Focus Resolve doesn't quite land at the end of it. Odo comes across for a bit of an accelerated shock blast. And GIANTX now looking to accelerate this game. 5,000 gold in the lead.
We look back at this fight, and the game plan here is to turn. They try to initiate onto Odoamne, a good target, but they don't quite have the damage to kill him. He turns, he disengages from Jankos, and then look at the spacing here. He then moves back towards his team, and it's almost like that they have a formation, you know? Patrik, Odo, they work behind Peach and IgNar, and every time they're out of position, they move back into that position. They play it well. They shut down the crucial target that's in front of them. And GIANTX come out with a massive one-team fight. That's a Baron secured. That's a 5k gold lead. And they're just stomping Heretics in this game.
Yeah, Chemsol as well. You can see Heretics caught all unawares in these last few fights. Jankos will be able to get out here, but only because GIANTX deem it so. They allow him to base. They want to push in these two waves, mid and bot their targets. Jankos might look for the mother of all flanks. And I've seen Sven do this on Analyst. Didn't work out too well for him. Jankos is waiting in that bush to see perhaps if GIANTX overstep. IgNar gets a zombie ward by clearing out that bit of vision, and Jankos now steps forward.
It's a nice flank. He will be spotted. He's not going to go for it, though.
Is it a nice flank if it doesn't come to anything, Betty?
I mean, it's not a flank then, is it? It's just
it's just standing in a bush.
It's just correct. It's hide in bush.
True. I mean, Jankos, I actually think he was awarded one of the most popular people on his team the other week. You know, he was outstanding in his field.
I don't like that joke. Now, tower gonna drop. Wunder getting chipped away. How tanky are you, Wunder?
Wunder's gonna get rooted up with a focus resolve as well. Not tanky enough, it seems, as Patrik goes on a rampage. Trymbi tries to dive in, but all of the diving he's doing is underneath the surface. Taken out by GIANTX. 2 quick kills for them. Cannon minion here. They can tank that tower for a little while at least. The tower should fall. Zwyroo down to half HP from an accelerated shot blast. No minion waves in top and bot for them, though, means that it will only be the one wave push, the one lane push at least, for GIANTX.
Very well played. I mean, what else is there to say? I am pleasantly surprised by the performance 15 from GIANTX. I mean, if they can maintain this level coming into the best of threes, it's definitely looking a lot more optimistic than their regular season did. To end on a 4-5 score, definitely not a bad spot. They talked about how they needed more time for growth going from the previous split into this one, and taking a win off of Heretics is extremely valuable. They're looking poised to do so.
And locking their place in the playoffs, remember, with this win.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
Destiny was in their control, and they got the 3-0 weekend.
Yeah.
So credit to them. Definitely defied expectations and have been able to find some big wins.
They will have got the 3-0.
Yes.
Right.
They haven't won yet.
It's difficult because at times as a caster you're like, hey guys, this game is over. But you don't want to say that because there might be some Heretics fans in the audience who are like, hey, they could still win. And they can still win. It would just take a series of unfortunate events.
Oh, yes.
Equivalent of a Lemony Snicket novel.
Yeah, 12 books perhaps.
For it to turn its way around.
I mean, if anyone's going to do it, it would be Flakked.
Yep.
He would be the player. I think that, like, we come back to draft a little bit, blind picking Annie. Like, we kind of look at the idea and it seems good, but in practice,
You're asking Annie, are you okay?
it's
You know?
it's really hard to burst everyone on this comp. Yeah, you got no prio in the early laning phase. You're very reliant on your flash in this composition. I think it's good into Ahri and champions that ultimately want to close that gap against you. But Karma, who's just, I poke.
Yeah.
Annie's range just becomes very sad.
And GIANTX denying Heretics entrance into the jungle. Heretics have no vision on this side of the map, apart from that provided to them by their minions.
Oh,
They
Trymbi.
can see a little bit of Trymbi. Whoa, okay, he goes in. The quickness landing onto Zwyroo as well. Charm onto Jankos will force him away. There's another. Zoda secures the kill. The teddy bear left without an Annie to hug to sleep at night. Zwyroo has gone for the long sleep. Annie's story is really dark. Remember when they released that cinematic?
GIANTX, they're looking to secure their 3rd win of the week. They're looking to lock in playoffs as they see the Nexus in their
A
eyes.
Cinderella story for them to come back and secure their own spot in the playoffs. Wunder and Flakked try to do anything, but the challenge is denied by GIANTX. It's impossible. Wunder goes back in, lands the knocker, but he's stunned. Void Rush trying to get out to the back of it. Cease and desist that onto Odoamne means that they can begin to open up, but they just don't have any damage. Wunder's a tank. Jankos has a sundered sky. For all that's helping as he goes down. Sent to join his friends in the sky, it seems, as GIANTX, in convincing fashion, will lock their spot in spring playoffs.
Cool, calm, collected faces on the side of GIANTX. They came in with a plan. They pinched Zwyroo's pool. 3 mid lane bans, and they wanted to put the pressure on him. I think in the laning phase, they did a great job. They limited his impact in the game. And overall, they played those fights to perfection. Nothing but credit should be given to GIANTX for this weekend. I hope they can maintain this form coming into playoffs.
As you said, it was a well-versed phalanx from GIANTX. You can vote for one of them in your key player of the game at LEC on X. Odoamne, Peach, or IgNar are your options.
Some fun stats for you. 6-0-11 for Odoamne.
Okay.
100% KP for Peach. And then IgNar 2-2-14. So if scorelines matter to you, Peach would be your man to vote for.
Well, there we are. We're going to go to a quick break. Patrik will be joining us for an interview after that. We'll see you then.
Red Bull gives you wings.